My Hero Academia is one of my favorite shows of all time, and I think a lot of people can empathize with that statement. The show's art is beautiful, the pacing is strong, and the narrative is engaging and exciting. But I think probably the most prevalent feature of My Hero Academia that most people worship is the characters themselves. So today, I want to take the time to look at my personal favorite character, Bakugo, and see why I believe that he is one of the best designed characters in modern anime. Bakugo is one of the main protagonists of My Hero Academia, only being behind Midoriya in relevance. He is perhaps considered to be Midoriya's rival since childhood, and is absolutely the most hot-headed character in Class 1A, often blowing up on everybody, which is pretty relevant since, blowing up is sort of his thing. Bakugo's ability is to sweat a nitroglycerin-like substance from his hands and igniting it on command. Bakugo's quirk is pretty incredible by itself, but his ability to come up with unique techniques to improve his quirk's utility ends up being the primary attribute that propels him to the #1 spot in Class 1A. So now that we got the quick synopsis of Bakugo's character out of the way, let's go into why and how he is designed this way. You see, Bakugo's character is the embodiment of passion. Every aspect of Bakugo's character surrounds this idea, and it shows. First and foremost, look at Bakugo's personality. From the beginning of the series, it appears that Bakugo merely speaks through yelling, flashbacks to an extremely annoying character. But rather than this being some weird and annoying character trait, Bakugo's passion feels real. This is because, in some ways, it actually makes sense. Now, extremely passionate characters are nothing new to the anime medium. After all, just about every shonen anime uses one as their main character, and My Hero Academia is no exception to this rule. But what's unique about Bakugo is how that passion is portrayed. Most protagonists are optimistic and smiling, but Bakugo uses anger. Anger is absolutely Bakugo's most prevalent emotion, but it appears to be used extremely wisely, often only getting in the way of social situations and rarely clouding his judgment. Speaking of which, his insane amounts of passion are not clouded by his anger. Rather than that, it's actually fueled by his anger. This is easier to explain with an example. Look at the final exams arc. Bakugo and Midoriya have to work together to beat the impossible challenge that is All Might in order to pass the exam. If Bakugo were your average angry because I'm angry character, he would just blitz All Might. But instead, something different happens. You see, Bakugo understands the difference in strength between himself and All Might. Thus, he knows the only way to victory is to outwit All Might. He uses his usual anger and channels it into himself, pushing himself with the target of passing the test, not particularly beating All Might, even going as far as to defend Midoriya, the person that he hates, for the sake of victory. These are all some awesome character traits to have, but what makes this even more incredible is that this is all done from the perspective of a protagonist. Bakugo is not evil. An asshole? Well, yeah. But at the end of the day, Bakugo wants to be a hero just as badly as everyone else in Class 1A. This is interesting because characters like this are usually built to turn into villains, even having a golden opportunity to switch sides, but he doesn't, which makes him just even more commendable. These traits are further understood when we are introduced to Bakugo's parents. We see that Bakugo's parents understood their son's immense drive and realized that Bakugo wants to become a hero simply to be like All Might. In other words, he's exactly like Midoriya in that respect. Neither one of them want to be a hero to prove a point, to be rich, to be famous, or for vengeance. They do it because they both want to be the next symbol of peace. In Stain's words, both Bakugo and Midoriya are true heroes. Like I said with Bakugo's parents, they understood that and intentionally decided not to praise him, but instead to push him. even reminding All Might to not praise him for these so-called small accomplishments because they understand Bakugo's fiery passion and want to keep that flame inside of him alive. I think there is a very specific reason why Bakugo's quirk is a simple explosion quirk. It's to further emphasize the passion and drive he has as a character. It's a physical representation of Bakugo's personality. Powerful, bold, bright, but still controlled. It's similar to Midoriya and One For All, an insane quirk that his body can barely contain. Obviously, Bakugo and Midoriya are foil characters. They both have the same goals, the same amount of passion, yet they face completely different obstacles. Bakugo is the top student, but is generally not favored due to his personality, whereas Midoriya's personality is often the sole reason he's sought after. Thus, both of their characters change and evolve in different ways. Bakugo, who was originally extremely confrontational and always angry, has changed quite a bit over the show's runtime. I think one of the scenes that best portray this is when All Might is leaving Bakugo's house. Bakugo asks if there's anything special between All Might and Midoriya, and All Might lies by saying no. But Bakugo sees through this. He understands this, and instead of exploding, he solemnly accepts it. You see, Bakugo's whole character is based around this. His personality is extreme to the max, but is capable of rational thought. He is, at heart, a controlled explosion of passion from every angle. From his personality to his hairstyle, and even his literal superpower is based on this idea. This all comes together to not only form a unique and well-fleshed out character, but someone who ends up being a perfect foil character to Midoriya. Bakugo serves so many different purposes in the narrative, it's incredible to believe, and despite some of the terrible stuff he has said, he still comes off as an empathetic character. I think this is mostly due to Bakugo's ambition and, once again, passion. Generally speaking, we are empathetic to characters who show traits that we consider to be admirable. Traits like being smart, strong, and even vulnerable in some cases. And Bakugo is just that. He is clearly not lacking in raw strength and is incredibly smart, often quickly deducing ways to best beat his opponents. The best example I can think of off the top of my head is the fight with Tokiyami, where he quickly deduces that Dark Shadow's weakness is in fact bright lights. Yet, instead of just brute forcing his way through Tokiyami like one would expect, Bakugo uses a specific ability that creates a massive ball of light, then instantly takes Tokiyami down. He doesn't particularly brutalize Tokiyami, he just deduces the fastest way to take him down and does so. This is also apparent in the League of Villains arc, where he realizes that none of the villains would be able to attack him as they considered him valuable. Thus, he uses that to his advantage and fights back. As for being vulnerable, we've seen this quite a few times as well. Bakugo being captured by the League of Villains is often the example that comes to mind. Understanding his situation and knowing that he really is in danger, and in the original version of him getting captured, you can almost see the fear in his eyes. The same can be said for what I previously mentioned about Bakugo understanding that All Might prioritizes Midoriya over him. Yet instead of taking it harshly and yelling at All Might, he solemnly accepts it. He still faces challenges and has highs and lows, changes over time, and even has to face failure, debatably even more than Midoriya. Yet, through all of this, he is passionate throughout, making for an incredible watching experience where sometimes you just can't help but root for him. And that is why I believe that Bakugo may just be one of the best designed characters in modern anime. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been wanting to make this video for quite some time now, but I figured I'd give the whole My Hero Academia thing a rest for a bit. Until now. You might notice that my voice sounds a little bit different in this part of the video. That's because I'm using a brand new microphone, finally! Unfortunately, that also means that this video will be my last video with my Blue Yeti. This thing has served me incredibly well, but alas, for the past 2 years, I've put this thing through some absolutely ridiculous trials, and it is finally starting to fail me, so I must replace it. So, a moment of silence for my Blue Yeti. A huge thank you to all of my patrons. You guys are my heroes. Speaking of which, if you're interested in seeing how I edit, chatting with me, or simply supporting the channel. I run a $1 a month Patreon to make that as easy as possible. This is Manime Matt. Make sure you guys say, man, go watch that goddamn anime.